The sanctions in place since 2001 have blocked Zimbabwe from receiving international loans, prevented US companies from doing business here, and put off potential investors from elsewhere. Zimbabwe had hoped a credible and peaceful election would turn a new leaf in relations with Washington. President Emmerson Mnangagwa's administration says it will take the renewal of sanctions in stride. It says newfound democratic freedoms as well as economic reforms implemented here since November 2017 mean efforts to normalize relations with the United States are well underway. While the US maintains the hard line, Zimbabwe has been urged to look to its past as well as internally to get around the punitive restrictions.
Even Rhodesia, when you look at the history of Zimbabwe, Rhodesia had a UN embargo imposed on it, but they were actually able, through import substitution industrialization strategy, to mitigate the impact of those sanctions. So I think it's really a challenge on the part of government to come up with strategies that will be able to deal with the negative impacts of these sanctions. So the message really is that nations can prosper in the midst of sanctions.
How do you prosper when international finance institutions don't want to lend to you? How do you prosper when international investors are taking a cue from the US and won't bring money here?
Number one, remember we articulated a look east policy that we haven't really fully leveraged. So that could be one angle that we can use to prosper or to beat sanctions looking east. We can also prosper by leveraging even our domestic resources. We can prosper by undertaking structural reforms, for example, reducing the size of government as a way of creating savings that we can then mobilize for infrastructure and for other important growth-enhancing things. We can also prosper by leveraging the diaspora. I think we have close to 3 million Zimbabweans that are in the diaspora, and they provide a huge opportunity for Zimbabwe.
Growing impetus for intra-African trade and the establishment of a common market are also seen providing Zimbabwe with alternatives it didn't have and putting it in a stronger position than it was 17 years ago when the sanctions were first enacted. Farai Mwakutuya, CGTN, Harare, Zimbabwe.